Let me start. So, good afternoon and welcome to the 5th class. And thank you so much for joining in. Any questions you have before we begin on whatever has been covered or anything that's bothering you regarding the subject? Okay, we'll take it as a. I'll again ask this maybe later. It's too early in the class. So, this is the 5th class. And today we are going into a place called Need to Measure L&D. So pretty much what we wanted to, we had spoken about data. Then we spoke about big data. Then we went into analytics. Then we went into HR analytics. So HR is a huge spectrum. HR is from acquisition to separation. Okay, that whole life cycle is HR, of which training is one piece, important piece, but there's compensation benefit, there's performance appraisal, there's recruitment, there's succession planning, there's talent retention, there is career velocity, so many things, of which, yes, at the end, finally, a person will leave or the company will leave. So that whole life cycle, wherever there are metrics, you can have uh, analytics. So we tried, the last day we had given a situation of a talent management, and maybe the exercise was to take any one of the components and try to take a stab at it, that what are the numbers you can generate. For example, in recruitment, can you tell me, maybe we'll not have the time for the exercise, or people may not have done it as a team or a group because increasingly you're getting busy with other things. So for recruitment, what would be the most important metrics? Those in recruitment in HR, what would be their key metrics? Okay, Parul, yes.
Key matrix will be the CSAT score of the candidates.
Okay. And it will also be the time to hire and the cost of hire. So when you are getting a person, Parul, I'm talking that you as a recruiter. Okay, and yes, from the student's point, the CSAT is important, or his marks are important, or whatever it scores in APT in GDPI. But it's important as a recruiter how fast you can take a person. So you cannot wait for 90 days. You cannot do it less than 30 days. Okay. So maybe between 30 to 45 is a good cycle if you have closed on hiring, because otherwise the person who told you to hire, he said, I don't require this guy anymore if you are late. Or if you are very quick and you give a bad guy. So there are many metrics. For example, how many people left within the first 6 months? So let's say I'm a recruiting manager. So this would be my metric. If 10 out of 6 people leave in the first 6 months, then I have done a bad job. So many metrics in, so that is why I gave you that exercise to think about recruitment. I mean, or talent acquisition as a piece. Okay, let me take another. If you are HR and if you are compensation, what would be your key metrics? By which you will be judged by business. Parul, any more guesses from you?
I'll take a shot at this. So they can be the attrition data. Second can be with regards to the compensation benchmarking.
Yeah, the second one is correct. Attrition is not in your hand. Okay, attrition is not a direct function of compensation. Okay,
But is it not a key variable when it comes to, like,
attrition can happen because of many reasons. It can be
right?
because of the boss.
Okay.
Yeah, one causal factor could be salary.
Yes.
Okay,
So
I
from that
get your point.
perspective.
Yes, yes. Very good. But your benchmark with the other, they call it MRP. There's a term called MRP. I forget the acronym. So in IBM, there used to be, sorry, I raised a hand. Let me,
I
Jugal
think,
Kushal, I'm coming to you in a moment.
yep.
So for example, in your band, if you check that in pharma, they pay much more. Okay, then people will go out. So that is the most important metric is, are you paying at par with the market or are you below par or are you above? If above, people will likely stick. Plus, I mean, the normal routine things, your fixed and your variable component. Yes, attrition is one marker, but attrition is more, I mean, because of a exit interview, then you can find out. Yuval Kishore.
Yeah, so I think, Mr. Bose, you were talking about the compare ratio because, like, whenever you are HR and a part of like managing compensation, you really need to understand like what is the compare ratio for all these kind of an employees. So basically, are they trending between minimum to mid or mid to max? So whenever you are onboarding someone, you can't be like giving a max kind of a thing to that particular person. You really need to understand, and then accordingly you have to have a rationalization between the existing resources and the person like who is going to be onboarded. You can't go beyond that comparison, and you cannot be like very on the minimal side. So from min to mid, that is something like which you can definitely offer something. You know that okay, the person will definitely be looking for maybe a higher raise, and then in between mid to max you can onboard that employee.
The perfect answer. Thank you, Jugal. Do you handle comben?
Not exactly, but yeah, I do know that particular thing because in my previous organizations, like I was a part of a kind of a team, like where we used to interact with the people on this comp ratio kind of a thing.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that insight. Okay, a final question before we get on to training metrics, which is where we are interested. Let's say now, Parul, the question to you is why people leave. Let's say I'm looking at attrition. Now tell me, I think now your attrition metrics will come in.
People can leave for various reasons, but if we want to, let's say, um, categorize it, there can be aspects with regards to career growth, with regards to higher studies, with regards to health issues, with regards to manager relationship, with regards to compensation. I think I've
Excellent.
already
I think
covered
you've
most of it.
pretty much touched upon all. So one is career velocity. If the guy has been in one band for let's say 12 years, people either work either for learning or earning. Okay. Yes, people do that. But the point here is why people leave. Now, in an exit interview, people will, what is the answer in exit interview they'll give? Will they tell the truth?
Not not mostly. They actually either will say culture, or they may
Hmm.
say that because of career growth. And it's where, ideally speaking, during an exec interview, we are supposed to probe further to understand when they are saying culture, what does it really mean? And when they are saying career growth, what does it really mean?
And many people, thank you so much, many people will say for personal reasons.
True.
Okay, they like to make most of, when I left companies, I said personal reason. So that no more questions asked. Okay, otherwise they'll say, oh, we could have given you more salary. Why don't you? You're a good guy. So if you really want to go, then these are okay. So during an attrition, these are things which are judged. That what was your last drawn salary? Did you stagnate, etc., etc. Okay, so what I am coming at is that every function of HR will have a matrix. So even in succession planning, you will see that career velocity. How far does a guy? What is the velocity of the career? Now, many companies want people to be. Many companies will promote a little bit. They want a little bit of attrition. So let's get into training metrics. And this is something we know. Okay, I saw one comment from Prince. Would you like to say something, Prince? People work for learning or earning. Apart anything more than that? Okay. So whenever you are off mute, let us know. So we are now going into module 4. Many of you ask me which is the module we are following. Today we are following module 4, page 67. I'm trying to, school myself that, okay, earlier today we had a very good opening ceremony. And maybe your some of you may know, we had now it's called a PGP. Did you know that it was a PGP? I think lots of advertisements went out. So today we had a PGP inauguration with 175 students earlier in the morning. So, and this is the 92nd batch. The difference between your batch and this batch, they're 15 months and it's a shortened course. The classes are 1 hour, which is good, not 1.5 hours, and many, many new changes which are coming. So just thought of keeping you informed. And we had one person who's a famous person, Patty Phillip. Can you tell her? Any one of you tell me why is Patty Phillip famous? Patty Phillip, Jack Phillip, does it ring a bell?
Philip model?
Yeah,
Simple
very
takeoff
good, Phillip.
metric model.
So she is the wife of this man, Jack Phillip. And she said something. The next time I come to the classes, bring your calculator. So maybe this group will be given problems. Like your group will also have a problem on ROI of training. So that will come maybe in the next class. But it was a uh, good day today with our national president opening up. The officiating director Tina Chakrabarti, she shared a few words. And Patty Phillips said that you are value builders. As trainers, you are not trainers, you create value. And it was very short. It was half an hour and it was all over. Okay, so that was that. Why do we need to measure L&D? Okay. Now, does training really work? So many people say that finance can answer this question. What is the, so we can see very clearly in the stock markets whether this company is doing well, or in the stock markets we are not doing well. So, and now that, Mr. Trump has been so kind to the world with his tariffs, so you see all across Dow Jones, Nasdaq, things are falling, not so much in Dalal Street or Lions Range, but I mean, it is the world might head for a recession. So what I'm saying that finance can answer this question. How much profit, how much turnover, how much EBITDA, okay, all the levers they can. Operations can answer this question. That how many pieces produced, today what is the daily productivity, how many codes did you write, how many bugs did you find, how many megawatt did you produce, if you are power producing, if you are making cement, how many tons of cement did you, so it can all be answered. Marketing comes close because not all pipeline ends with a deal closure. Many people will say, so there's this story about marketing. I cannot help but share. So many of you may know this. So there was a story that a man went to China. Okay. His boss sent him to China and told him that, can you market shoes here? It was a shoe company. So the guy came back and after 3 weeks he said, sir, there's no chance of selling anything to China. Then the boss asked, why? Well, everywhere I've seen people with naked feet, they don't wear any shoes. So we can't sell shoes in China. The boss, then he sent a second person. And he said, go and find in China how many people need shoes. Same scene. That guy came back and said, boss, there is so much of potential. We have 2 feet. 1 feet requires 1 square feet or 2 square feet of leather. Okay, so we can into so many people in China. And the boss was damn happy. So whom do you think would have been the more pragmatic one? The one who told about reality or the one who told about potential?
Second one.
Potential one.
Potential one. Princess. So that guy will be the. So marketing also runs like this. A lot is a potential or a aspiration. Like achhe din. Okay. Good days are ahead. But maybe many don't make a deal. Now here in training, this is a difficult question. So you will calculate all the good things that we do. But then the bosses are not happy. They see training as an expense. They see training as a time waste. I mean, majority. Unless the guy is very sort of, erudite or has a background of a good college or a good background or somewhere he has not been able to study, like that Three Idiots guy. Otherwise, people will not really value education in a corporate. Why don't people value education in a corporate? They expect whatever learning and development you are come, you are a ready resource. Why do you need training? So the training you will like HR. Why do you need HR? People will learn anyway. No need of HR. They're all Agent Vinod. Okay. Long back when I was a kid, there used to be a movie, I think by Vinod Khanna or some hero, Agent Vinod. So I have seen this term applied to HR people. Oh, your management's agent. So the point here is on a more serious note, does training really work? Okay. So we'll try because all other functions tries to come close to an answer. So marketing will say we have done so much of an ad. Look, we have so much of sales because of that campaign. Or we did so much of seller training. So that converted so many leads into pipelines. Now, why did rising analysis? I forgot mentioning a book the last day. It was by a guy called Mattox. Okay, I'll put the name of the book. I said about Noe and Kidwai and one Agochia, but really I had in mind Mattox. That's a good book. Okay, it's on learning analytics. So there's a pressure from C-suite. Okay, can you tell me why is there a pressure from the C-suite about the importance of trading? Why do they ask questions that is training working? They could be pretty happy. They get their, dividend and all the works. But why do they bother about training? Your clients or your own company. You will see any training spend, like the other day, there's a company called Calcutta Electric Supply Corporation, where I stay. CSC, everything was fine. We will get nominations. Last moment, the guy said, "Sir, there's too much of pressure. We can't give any guys because it's month ending, year ending, blah blah blah." So the program is on April 11th. So I understood that they will not spend that 10,000 rupees, which was actually what was required for the three nominations. I think it was 3,500 per person. Now, wherever there is money, there will be a decision, unless it's a public sector, budgets are protected, etc. Otherwise, they'll question. What will happen if they go to the training? What will happen if they don't go to the training? So if you don't have a good answer, chances are you will not get a budget. Okay, so therefore, you have to defend your case like a PhD scholar. You have to defend your thesis that, sir, we want training, or madam, we must have this training had. So as a HR partner or as a training budget holder, you have to take these knocks and you have to give a right answer. You cannot get away saying that human beings cannot be measured, they're unpredictable, they're emotional. You can measure a machine, you can measure a land, all the assets you can measure. But then they'll say Infosys has done a balance sheet. They'll talk of human capital management, which will refer to a little bit. But ideally, you cannot measure the value of a human being. So there's one way you can. Can somebody tell me? It's beyond the subject. How do you measure the value of a human potential or a human guy? I mean, what is his value? Any answer is welcome.
So based on their performance and also the returns that company is getting from that individual.
Yes. So just Jyoti, just that you know, so there are two types of costing. We don't cover it in this paper, but I think it should be a little bit in the HR accounting. If there's a little funda, so there's a guy called Eric Flamholz. So his theory was about employee value. That if an employee leaves, what will be the replacement cost? And there was a guy called Likart, or I think Likart or Schwartz and Lev. I should have put Lev's name first. Lev was the first author, Lev and Schwartz. So if you Google up this, you will find a little bit on human value costing. It is not training costing. It is, for example, Jyoti, I'm replaced with somebody else. So how much cost will that guy take to really come up to my shoes? Or now here there are several fallacies. We think like historical, if you look at Likart's method, that is historical method. Historical method is the 35 years you will spend. Like my father, he spent in Indian Statistical Institute 35 years or 30 years, whatever he spent. Now, in those days, people never changed companies. I changed 3 companies. My son might change, or any one of you might change 4 companies, 5 companies. I know one guy who changed 22 companies. So the illogic is that a person will be in the company forever and ever, or 35 years or 33 years. And then that is amortized over year by year. What is his value? So that is historical cost. Cost elements include his salary, his training cost, his onboarding cost, increment, blah, blah, all the costs that he will hit the budget. So just as a by the by, we are not getting into human resource accounting or audit. But if you're interested, please do study at least these 2 or 3 value methods. One is a historical method, one is a value method. Good. So we go to where we wanted to. So there's no getting away that no, we are human beings, they can't be monetized. So they'll ask you why they can't be monetized. Marketing can be done, operations can be done, finance can be done. Why HR is so special? So you need a little bit of data, you need a little bit of analytics to save you from. Save means, you have to answer something. And then, well, one last point, data availability, talent analytics, insights into employee behavior. Now, you cannot tell directly that, so much of training we did, this is resulting in so much improvement. So it's intangible. You'll say that their behavior has changed. Look, we shifted so many people from one department to another because they were trained. We did with leaner manpower. Earlier, 80 people used to do the job. Now only 30 people are doing. So you'll have to have some semblance of analytics so that the person believes, okay, you also did your part. He will not fully believe, but he'll at least not shut the door in front of your face. Science and art of gathering, processing, interpreting data, and communicating results, including recommended decisions, a lot of words related to efficiency, effectiveness, and business impact of development programs designed to improve organizational and individual. So this is a big, quite a mouthful. The whole idea is that how do you get the data and then how the program impacts personal and professional performance. So what are the metrics normally we use when we go? When, you report as a L&D guy, or what is one thing as a trainer, let's say, what is one of the things that you are very interested to know after the training is over?
So once the training is over, we understand if all the participants have understood what was delivered in the training, if they were happy with what was being delivered. And of
Excellent.
course, then somehow we later on we try to understand. I mean, whenever we are designing, we understand if it will be applicable or not. So that is there, and yeah, and then we evaluate, sir.
So, Karishma, do you work in a, where do you work?
I work with the TMC, sir.
Okay. TMC
Yeah.
is a training company.
So it is a corporate travel management company. It is an
Okay.
ITC associate. Yeah.
Okay, it's an
ITC.
ITC. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for example, if you have to do training, do you do training indoors or do you call outside vendors?
So both.
Both. So, as rightly said by Karishma, satisfaction is one of the things we'll first check. Okay. I'm coming to you, Bhakti, in a minute. So, satisfaction is that whether the guys were happy, whether the training met its objectives, you can make out. People will be
Right.
quiet. You can make out that if it's a bad training, people will start going out if it's a face to face. If it's online, then people will not show video. Or you can make out that it's not clicking. Like I remember in a radio, All India radio, there was one guy who gave me very hard. No, Rahul, this is not going the right way. Let's stop the interview right now. So I was the interviewee and he was the moderator. So within 15 minutes, he said it's not good. Then I had to think very hard. How can I make it attractive? Well, All India radio, so many people, they're not as educated as you. So you'll have to speak in a common man's language. You are speaking all, hi-fi. So then I understood, okay, I'll have to now come down and do gallery playing. So then, so many things we know that people don't. Satisfaction is one. Yeah, evaluation at the next level, many people don't do. I'll come to it, but thank you, Karishma. Bhakti, your point. Let me stop share for a moment.
Sir, I think as per like Kirkpatrick model, if you follow, so first would be the reaction, satisfaction, what they have, then learning, behavior, and result.
Thank you. Pretty much the Kirkpatrick model. So which we'll come to. Today we had Patty Phillips. That is why I wanted to call out. Today when the diploma students came in, Patty Phillips is also a big player. If you see her videos, Jack Phillips I had heard in Delhi in 2022, but they're very expensive. They can't be flown. So they came online, but still I think they charge something. So they have a ROI Institute. Okay. Anyway, so one is learning leaders will say that, because of this training, skill training usually sells well. We give training on welding. Look, my welders are doing dissimilar metal welding, or they're doing very difficult welding at different heights, which we call in situ welding. So many of the things are very difficult to do. Now we have drones and all. Earlier, all that was not there. A guy used to go up with a sling. Then there used to be a special jugaad, which and people used to. So in industry, I mean, if you still see buildings and things being made when you travel on the road, everything is not drone. Okay, we have not come to that stage. So how is this training applied? Activity metrics, okay. Employee performance. Now, this is a big deal. How will you know after he has gone back? Maybe a guy got promoted, maybe a guy left. So many people ask, in IBM, I used to find this. Immediately you train, then the guy will leave for TCS or Accenture. Or at that time, Satyam, because they used to pay a lot of money. So then the boss used, what is the use of training if people are leaving us? So then we had to say, but the project wants CV. So you have to show that the guy knows, Red Hat, he knows whatever. This Napster or any software which the client wants. So in the CV must include. So there are many CVs which get rejected because the guy doesn't know SPSS, he doesn't know Python or something. They'll find some fault, they'll give the CV back. Big clients like Nestle, Tetra Pak, so they are very finicky about CVs. That it must be, you shouldn't have any cattle class, it must be club class. And there are some clients which are okay, everything will work. Learning retention, finally business result. This is where Patty Phillips comes in. that because of your training was there a profit. Okay, for example, we used to do a consulting, what was the thing called? Consulting Academy. Okay, let me name this here. Suddenly I remember. So one guy asked this question. So all consultants were taught, and I was one of the tutors in IBM, that how do you speak with, clients, consulting academy. Okay. So all these are big, big names or sellers, coach. So these guys, they have been taught, they get a case study, they get a stakeholder, how will they influence him, how will they win business from him or her. And they have to present at the end day. And usually a business leader comes on the last day and says, okay, I like your presentation. So in your sales also, if you have a sales, how to handle objections. So they teach all this during sales training. So it was more of a consultative selling, not really direct product selling. So one guy said that you have done so many consulting programs. Did IBM make any, did it win new business? So it had to be shown, yet, yes, it won new business and many are on the pipeline. So what I mean to say, it's very, very difficult to show. For example, I remember in Tata Steel, a number of people working in coke ovens after they had been to Holland for a training, which I was a part of, operators training. We had 80 people, now we had 40 people. So that we could prove that because of training we could do, but it's very, very difficult to prove because of your training, things improve. You cannot correlate and success will have many fathers. Yes, you can make your stake your claim that you because of your communication, which you taught in consulting academy, the guy, many a times I ask these guys, did you get a chance to pitch to the client? Then the guy says, no, sir, my boss, he pitches to the client. Do you get to give him the data? Well, yes, that part I did. So at least something got used which he learned in the consulting academy. Similarly, if you teach negotiation, chances are that in the next negotiation he might not win over everybody. But over a period of time, he may be a better negotiator. So more skilled based it is, immediate result. The more behavior it is, delayed results or no result. That is why people sometimes do not want to invest on anything which is non-skill or non-monetizable. Immediately it cannot be shown. Common areas like Parul and Bhakti, they have all said, Jyoti, that training effectiveness. Did people like the training? So they do that L1 and they're happy. Oh, there was a smile on the face. Like yesterday, we did a posh training at Calcutta, IST. 65 people came in Saturday morning, whole day. It was a good training. So many people I asked at the end that, can you tell me, as chairman of the chapter, I have to ask that did you really enjoy the training or tell us something? I remember one guy in Indian Oil, and this is a funny story. So Indian Oil, any of you from Indian Oil here? Then I'll have to tell it a little carefully.
No, sir.
No. So Karishma wants to listen to the story. So the training ended and we were ISTD and the Indian Oil came in at the end. So Mr. Bose and team, they have given you, he was saying in local language that they have given you great training. Now tell me what are the bad things you found in, the worst thing you, then one guy said, sir, earlier you used to give us coconut water, Dabet jal, okay. We say here, nariyal pani or coconut water, the English. Now these days they give us tea. Then I knew the level of pampering which Indian Oil really goes through. Guys getting tea bloody, I mean, be happy and thank your Lord that you are getting tea coffee. So he asked, Nani, tell me, what is the most worst thing you found in the training? Really, really pampered brats. Okay, so many people, because unless you know what, otherwise people will say very good, or they'll not say anything. How can you sense that the training is bad? Training has not gone well? Okay, Karishma is smiling and tell me something. And he used this. सबसे खराब चीज क्या था? I still don't remember the Hindi very properly. I mean, and the guy says, sir, earlier you used to serve dark coconut water. It was so nice, cool, sweet. Now you are giving hot tea. We don't like. Then I really said, like the 3 days guy, I quit. Okay. Any of you, how do you know that the training is not going the right way?
So
So
from the
if we see the
non-verbal
disinterest
communication.
of, there are many things, but I think one
Hmm.
of the things is disinterest of people.
Yes. They will go away. They'll go away or they'll not say anything. Very clear in Southeast Asia, they will give you a stone face. In India, people are still, I mean, they're slightly polite unless the guy is, elderly and he doesn't want to mince words. One or two people will be like that, but majority will not say anything. And if it's a good training, they'll hold you back. They'll say, I want this. Can we have another discussion? Or if it's not a great training, immediately they'll pack up their bags and go. And the going will start, let's say, around half an hour before you have closed. Jugal Kishore.
So in my organization, Mr. Bose, like I'm not dealing with the external training. Most of the
Hmm.
time, like it is the internal training that we are supposed to conduct. However, I think this is the standard statement like which we generally receive from operations or maybe from other departments that the training is not happening the way ideally it should be. And the reasons are like the performance management, like when we actually gauge the KPI or the metric performance. So irrespective or maybe counting the external factors, I think this is like 90 or 95% times they generally have a very very huge reliance on the agent part, and they always come back to us stating that the agents are not able to retain the knowledge, whether it is in a form of a information or a resolution, or whether it is in a form of a skill, or like whether a tool it, or maybe they are not equipped to manage that particular tool. So that is a kind of a problem that we generally come across. So I think it is like for us to identify the training needs every time. So it is a recurrence or maybe a becoming a vicious cycle for us to identify the different training needs, going into a very very surgical mode, or going to a very targeted audience with the kind of a targeted interventions to curb those concerns.
Excellent. And these agents are what? What do they do?
So they are the responsible for the service delivery. So basically, I take care of the call center part of the business, like
Okay.
where all the kind of like queries, requests, complaints, like at the enterprise level when someone is trying to reach out to the agent serve. So these are the like primary source of information and the resolution.
Okay. So it's very important that they're the main players.
Correct.
Thank you. So training needs assessment at every stage. You have to do a surgical strike. Otherwise, I mean, it is. But I get your point. So you have to be on the trot. You
Correct.
cannot take last time success as this time's template.
No,
So
not at
things
all.
will change. Thank you so much. Maintain. Okay. So why do we do measurement? One is justify the existence of programs. So as an L&D or a HR guy, you will say that this program is very good. Like here in ISTD, they do train the trainer or POSH or AI for professionals or neuro-linguistic program. So moment you do this, you will find many people coming in. So you will say, okay, this program is justified. Or in a company, maybe that consulting academy was famous because every band had to go through that program. Then they get a certification, then they can. So either it's a certification or something, a level of promotion. So you have to justify an existence of a program. Conduct needs assessment, as has been said by Jugal. And also there are certain compliance related training where you cannot question why this training is there. For example, BCG. Like in IBM, there was a business conduct guideline. So unless I sign off after reading at the beginning of the year, I will get mails from my manager. Then it will come from my skip level if I still do not complete that education. Or let's say POSH, or let's say cyber security. or let's say something. So these are programs which are not really assessed. You will have to do it regardless of any training needs. So maintain compliance. You must be compliant or safety. So I'll send you this ISO 30414 23 metrics. So just like ISO 9000, this is on HR, pretty much a human resource audit. Like I mentioned, Levin, Schwartz, and the few names in the beginning. How is a human valued? So maybe of interest, but not of, it doesn't come in the exam. External measures in 9 areas. So it talks of ethics, costs, workforce diversity. So there are all these dimensions of this. Okay, one is OSHA. So a lot of, factory people. Like if you go to Aditya Birla Group AVG, if you go to Tata Steel, where I was, if you go to any company, BHL, or Indian, safety training would be very important. Refineries. So if safety training, like if the Hindustan Copper, mining company, safety is utmost. So they will always tell you that we need compliance because they're prone to accidents. Okay, productivity, recruitment, skill. So this is a good standard. Not many people use, but if it is used by your company, it would possibly be a good thing. I mean, one could have a look and then decide whether we'll go for this or no. A little bit of HCM. This is human capital management. So there are companies like Mafoy, William Mercer, those who do HR consulting. Okay. So now this course also takes you to HR consulting in a little way to determine the impact of people and contribute. So at every stage, unless you have the data, you cannot do this 1, 2, 3, 4. HR practice produce value, for example, return on ROI, like we had spoken about Patty Phillip, Jack Phillip, to provide guidance. It's more on HR, but we'll stick to L&D today. But just as a wider canvas, human capital management is an area where you can also get into. That is a good segue from training to provide data. Okay, so it's on data. So here, for example, I have given, if you have an Excel sheet, and as a HR person, you will know a lot of sensitive data. So there's one term which we use very commonly. I'm writing it here. And if you can tell me, this would be very, very important. What is SI and what is any guesses? SI and PSI? So SI is sensitive information. Okay, I think I got a chat. Just one sec. Okay, Parul says no. So one is sensitive information, the other is personal sensitive information. Okay. So for example, if I know your date of birth, that is PSI. Okay, so some are sensitive, some are very sensitive. Like workforce composition, gender, race, age, all these are SPI. Okay. So analyze this. So for example, you see that there are very less women. So always in a coal mill or refinery, you will not find. The other day, yesterday, in the valedictory, we had an executive director from Indian Oil. So she retired from Indian Oil, Shukla Mistry. She said when I joined, there were only 0.8% of Indian Oil was female employees. Today, it's around 8%. NTPC has 6%. Talking mainly about public sector. In a private sector, gender diversity is much, much better. But they're trying to, just like in the parliament, they're trying to have. So point is, unless I know the data, I cannot do much. So analyze the extent of diversity, assess the implications of preponderance. You just cannot have a male or a female because there must be a business reason of having this. Length of service. So for example, people don't retire at all. Like that guy said, tell me one bad thing. So one bad thing about public sectors, for example, if I stuck on to BHL 35 years, that was an option. Nobody is pushing you out. It was Sarkari, I mean government PSU. But then I would have been at that. So point is, indicate level of success in retaining employees. How long does a guy stay? So if the guys stay long, okay, historically it used to be very good. Oh, it's a great company, people, there are lifers. So one who gets in, like in PwC, my first partner, he said, I'm a lifer. I didn't know the meaning of lifer. Then I understood, okay, one who stays on for whole life is known as a lifer. So if you have a lifer, but today you will not find lifers 2 or 3. It is also good business sense to move on, because once the company knows that you are for granted, you will see the treatment changes. I'm not advocating that, change every 3 years, but I think it's a good idea to review every 3 years, because loyalty is no longer there. In our times, like Tata Steel, long service award, bahut bani, I mean, he's a great guy. What is that? No? Okay, no is, let me say, this is XA from GVS from audit perspective. Just let me see Shishagiri left. Just let me see this. Oh, yes, we have something sensitive audit. Very good. Yeah, this is the answer I was wanting that you are using. Thank you so much, Parul. So, sensitive data, skill analysis, whether the guy is skilled, how long does it say? So, just examples about HCM. Attrition, we spoke of earlier. Why are people leaving? There's a saying that people don't leave companies, they leave bosses. Now, I have seen many people, not really boss, I mean, the ecosystem becomes bad, or sometimes if the boss is horrible, God forbid, then the guy leaves. So then the company has to take care that move the boss away, get him into a place where he can do little damage. Cost of attrition. So if one good guy goes, let's say I lose Paru, or I lose Karishma, or I lose any one of you, it will take me a great amount of effort and time and money to get a replacement. Absenteeism, sickness, again, not very applicable in a private company, but for public sector, yes, you're protected. 22 days of earned leave, 12 days of casual leave, all this will be there wherever you go. But beyond that, uh, difficult. Average number of vacancies total. So what I said is HCM is a more specialized area of human HR consulting, where you just do only this. You have the data and you give the actions, like which is shown in the right hand side. More compensation ratio, for example, this, like we spoke of in the morning, percent of employees, total pay review, compare actual. So if you're in Comben, you will do all this exercise, outcome, okay, succession planning. I'm not getting into this, too many of this. Succession planning, okay. If there's there's always 2 or 3 people. It's good to have a plan A, B, C, D. So, how much do you have a plan A, B, C, D? Otherwise, what happens is somebody is pushed into the role. Somebody very political, one who can talk to the skip level, one who can do a little politics, that guy will come to the forefront. And therefore, politics is encouraged in the company, because apart from all the bad things, it also does good things, like everything is out in the open. Okay, so in our OB, we had a chapter called Power and Politics. So today we'll not get into that. Accident severity, if you have too many accidents, then difficult. So coming to the point, what are the key training metrics? One is, how many hours did the employee train? Do you agree with this metric? This used to be the historically your life-saving metric as a trainer or as a L&D professional. How many hours per employee? How many hours per year an employee should be trained? Depends on the industry, but still give me a guess.
Yes, we do calculate those things, huh? Training man hours, trainer man hours.
Yeah. So you know it differs from company to company. And now you cannot really monitor, because in earlier times, it used to be monitored by the company. Like IBM said, 40 hours of training, 24 classroom, 16 online.
Correct.
Today, you can learn on the fly, you can learn on the road, you can learn through YouTube, you can learn through Insta, you can do so many things. So this now is possibly getting blurred. So learning, I mean, if the guy wants, he can learn much beyond what is stipulated by the company. But company usually will have a metric, because they will organize programs, and that is the metric they. But they'll also have good companies will have a mechanism to capture learning what you did apart from what the company told you to. Expenditure, for example, you read a book, okay, or you did a course by Coursera or Udemy, you did something, you did an agile certification. So whatever you did will all be counted as training hours or training effort. How much spending people do? Again, if you have a training budget, you will have to do a fall plan. You will have to tell it to the boss, and the boss will cut. Why do you want this training? No, we don't want communication training anymore. Everybody is a good communicator here. Okay, sir, negotiation training, sir, please allow. Okay, negotiation, let it go. Our people are not good. Like, okay, so all these funny, I mean, situations happen where you have to spend all your dollars and budgets. Otherwise, they'll say that you did wasted your money. Expenditure as a percentage of revenue, cost per learning hour, net promoter. What is the net promoter score? Rahul?
Net promoter score, in some organizations, we are evaluating the satisfaction through the rating of, let's say, 1 to 10. How satisfied were you from the scale of 1 to 10? And here the calculation is done basis anything which is, let's say, less than 5 is considered as detractors. Anything which is more than 8 is considered as promoter, and the ones who are rating in between 5 to say 8 are considered as passives. So the score is only done between detractors minus the promoters, and basis that we get the net promoter score, which is the NPS level. So if your detractors are more than the promoters, then your score is going to be negative. So your rating happens from minus 100 to positive 100.
Excellent answer. I mean, perfect 10. And it is about whether people speak good of you. Net promoter is more of that whether people say that you are good. And as Parul had said, 1 to 5 and 7 to 10. Thank you so much for that. Percentage of expense for external services, for example, you spend on EBSCO host, or you spend for Harvard Business Review paper, or you spend for a knowledge channel. Now that would also come as external service. Also, they do by vendor. Let's say you have SAP or Oracle, or you want an external vendor, Skillsoft or any other company. Like, one of you said that our training is in-house as well as we have spent. Now they must be monitoring that spend by the vendor. Break up by area, by sales people, how much training they got, marketing, how much they got, operations, etc. Or it can be spliced and diced by many other dimensions as well, not only functions by the, by the area in which they go to market. Some people, okay, by delivery method, now everything is online. So a little is offline, which is mostly meetings they try to club with training. So if there's a big meeting, then they'll have half a day of training also. Some big leader is coming, so he wants to meet up people. That is the only time. Pretty much like we do our get-togethers. Somebody in your city from Hyderabad, your friend is coming to Delhi. So you organize a few friends and you meet. Similarly, in corporates also, it's become meeting and training together. Unless, yes, there's captive audience, you will get those people. So you'll have a regular training method. Classes. Here is a tricky question. If you have a trainer, and if you have a business trainer, would there be a difference in their satisfaction scores? So usually we say, good, excellent, neutral, not impressive or something. Okay, 1 would be bad, 5 would be great. So do you feel there should be a difference between the two? Somebody who's from pure HR or is a trainer, and somebody who's a great content guy, but not really a trainer, but you have to call him because he has that authority to be on the stage. Would you make an allowance for their scores? Or would you say no, once you have come for training, you are all equal? What would be your Jugal Kishore? I don't know whether it's a clap or a raised hand.
No, it was a clap sign for Karishma, the way she was explaining the net promoter score.
Yeah.
But yeah, this particular question, like which you just asked, Mr. Bose, there are two
That
different.
was Parul, Jugal.
Sorry, yeah. No, I
Parul
think that's,
mentioned about that NPL. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. I think the question which you are just trying to showcase,
Hmm.
there were two different terminologies used. One was the trainer, this other one was the business tutor. So, what do you mean by the business tutor? Are we referring to the one of the subject matter expert?
SME. If the SME comes in, you're paying,
Mhm.
you're getting in an SME and he's from business. So would you make a differentiation between the two?
See, as a participant or maybe as a trainee,
As
I
a
will.
trainer, as a trainer.
Yeah, definitely there will be. And in fact, I think most of the time it happens that people are more uh, inclined, or they are finding more relatable with respect to the SMEs instead of a particular trainer, because most of the time what happens, like whenever you are, let's say if you are asking some external agency to come and then impart a session, vis-a-vis if you are trying to identify someone like who is very very good into the business operations and then asking that particular individual to perform or maybe conduct a session. So in my company it happens like, or maybe I think this is my personal experience, that people are generally appreciating the way the SMEs are conducting the sessions, and the scores will definitely be on a higher side for the SMEs as comparative to the external trainers.
Thank you. I just wanted this differentiation. In IBM, they used to make it otherwise.
Okay.
That maybe he's not a great tutor.
Hmm.
His delivery and that could be a problem, but his basic content is super.
Correct.
So we used to give a allowance to this. For a trainer, his score has to be 85% and above. For a business tutor, it can be 75 and above. Because his forte is not training. His forte is knowing the subject. Whereas the trainer is supposed to be good in delivery. So this is just a point of view. But I also take in your point of view that always a SME would be better placed. But then how he explains, etc. So it might be a good idea to make a little difference between the two. Or many companies, they will say that no, it's the same. Once you are in training, there is not really much difference.
Yep.
Thank you, Jugal, for that. Quantitative data, we usually, how many learners completed a course, number of hours, we said, how many new hires, graduate training, percentage of learners who watched a video, listened to a podcast, okay, employees or team sales revenue after and before training. Whether job have associate badge, okay, this is slightly HR oriented data. Okay, we don't, promoter detractor has been so well explained by Parul that how many feel that the program, so it's word of mouth. People say that it's a good program, then your thing sells. Okay, text data in your feedback form, there are, and I'll come to that slide in a moment. There are areas where you ask 1 to 5. At the end, you will say, is there anything you wanted to say? So that would be text data. They'll write it. Lunch was not good. Or, something they'll write. Or the room was too cold, the AC was, etc., etc. Or maybe they'll write about the training, they'll write about the curriculum. My point is every comment is very important. Like that, I made that, and Many of you smile. They tell me what is the worst thing that you find, that Indian oil story. But that also is a valid feedback. Okay. So any feedback which comes in, it's important that we listen to them. The guy has felt it that way. So he's speaking in that way. Whether customers have ratings are higher for retail, okay. Here there's a video. It will take 8 minutes to do the video. Would you like to watch the video? And then we have a small MCQ. Is that okay?
Sure.
Just
Yes,
one.
sir.
Let me, before I watch. Okay. So this video actually cuts out a lot of my talk. She does the talking. And I think it's a fairly good video. Just let me put the sound on. Optimize. Yeah.
How do you measure your learning and development efforts, and how do you communicate the results of your work to the management? I'm talking about CEO or GM. It's not as straightforward as you may think. This video, I want to share with you the L&D metrics available to you on a bigger scale and on a longer scale. Let's say on a quarter or even year level. Also, how do you measure L&D initiatives is a very common question on L&D interview, like 99% you will be asked. That's what this video is about. If you are new to this channel, my name is Lisa and I create videos I wish existed when I was starting out in learning and development industry. So this is my second video about measuring learning and development. If you haven't watched the first one, you wanna do that. That video talks about measuring single training and development initiatives. When I look at learning and development metrics, I would personally divide them into 3 categories: transactional metrics, business metrics, and organizational people metrics. Let's start with transactional metrics. Transactional metrics are number of trainings delivered, number of employees trained, training completion rates, learning hours per employee or per department, attendance rate, percentage of employees trained against the headcount. These metrics show that learning and development department was doing its job, not just sitting in the office. By the way, many times L&D is a one-man show, especially if your company has less than 400 employees or fewer, based on my experience. I would also add online learning metrics such as engagement rate, that can include likes, shares, recommendations, comments, etc. Course completion rate, dropout rate, learning path progression. For all the metrics I mentioned, you can easily find them online or just ask AI of your choice. I would also add team or topics of learning to transactional metrics. For example, what percentage of all L&D initiatives focused on product knowledge, safety, compliance, digital literacy, soft skills, and so on. Transactional metrics are important to record and track whether you are using LMS or Excel. The thing is, when you show these metrics to CEO or CFO, they are going to ask a follow-up question. So what? All this data looks great. It looks like you guys in L&D have been keeping yourself busy. The next thing that they would want to know is how all of this has impacted the business. What does it mean for bottom line? What does it mean for the company overall? This is where business metrics come into place. This is where you need to start answering the question, so what? To answer the question, you need to know what is happening in the company. Has the company sold more products, offered more services? Have the sales went up? Talk about how L&D supported that. Maybe you did sales training or negotiation skills program. Has the customer satisfaction score went up? Great. How L&D supported it? Maybe there was an extensive product knowledge training on communication skills or emotional intelligence. Has the company opened new locations, stores, or offices in different countries? How L&D has supported that? How many employees were promoted or offered new roles within the company in new locations? This may tell you how strong your skills and leadership development programs are. What was the revenue per employee this year compared to last year? Look back at new trends, systems, or solution. How has L&D supported adaptation? Maybe you have mass-trained employees on how to use AI tools or any new software that company has purchased. Remember that business spends money on systems because systems are supposed to save our time and improve our productivity. What about legal cases, HEC incidents? Have they decreased or remained the same? Remember that in L&D, same as in any other job role, there are things that in your control and there are things that outside of your control. So when you present your results, talk about your efforts. You know, many times we don't really know how the effort that we put, how it's going to translate in the results, but talk about your intention and that your intention was to support a specific business metric or initiative. All right, now let's have a look at overall organizational people metrics. First metric that you want to focus on is performance evaluation metrics. Different organizations do performance management differently. Some do it once a year, some do it on quarterly basis. Really, it depends on the company. What percentage of employees are performing at the expected level? What percentage of employees are low performers? And what percentage are high performance? How L&D supports those employees who are underperforming? How that percentage compared to last year? What percentage are high-performing employees? Are we able to retain them? How we can support their development and full utilization of their potential? In my opinion, employee performance is the most important metric to be measured in L&D. If you think the role of L&D in any organization, L&D is there to support business growth through people development. How do we do it? On-the-job training, formal training, online learning, mentoring, leadership and supervisory development programs, job rotations, stretch assignment, and so on. Our role is to improve people's skills, including both hard skills and soft skills, so that they can perform better on the job. The second one is internal promotion rate. How many employees have been promoted within the company? How many roles have been filled internally? The next one is have a look at employee turnover rate. How is it compared to last year or quarter? How was L&D able to support decreasing employee turnover? Maybe you held career development workshops. Maybe you work closely with your leadership team to create a culture where each employee feels important and part of something bigger than themselves. Next is employee engagement rate. Employee engagement rate, it's a survey, it's a questionnaire that is distributed to all employees to gather their feedback on various aspects of their job and the workplace. This survey usually includes job satisfaction, work environment, recognition and reward, communication, and professional development. Usually the reports are very detailed and you can dig deeper in each area. If there is increase, see how L&D initiatives might have supported that. Next is employee probation passing rate. What is the percentage of new employees who pass the probation period? This metric isn't only with talent acquisition team. A low probation passing rate may also mean that departmental leaders and supervisors are missing onboarding and on-the-job training skills. That usually falls under learning and development. Overall, I would look at organizational people metrics on year-to-year basis. So this is how I would look at learning and development metrics and how you communicate your activities and results to the business. In my work experience, I have seen that there is a trend of focusing too much on the transactional metrics and under communicating the business metrics and specifically how L&D supports the business. Maybe it's time to review your L&D reports or dashboard and see what information you share there. Remember that you always want to position yourself as a strategic business partner. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you need help with your learning and development career, you can always reach out to me on Instagram or just send an email and we will see what is the best way for us to work together. Hope you're having adventures and following your dreams. Bye for now.
Yeah, I will send this, Karishma. Did you like the video?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because she dwelt on 3 areas and the last was slightly larger beyond L&D metrics. Thank you, Parul. I thought that this will be useful. What I liked is the structure that first she said about, thank you, Prince Jugal. I'll send this link. Speaks of first L&D metrics, then she talks of business metrics. That what business did you grow because of your learning, and finally she goes into performance evaluation organization. So I mean, this was a young person, so I listened carefully. There were other videos. I'll share this link once I send you the slide deck. The link is there. I downloaded, but I'll get the link. Okay. It's in a downloaded. When I give you a PDF, I'll put it in a link. Thank you so much for watching. Let me go over. I think this was her video.
How do you measure?
This is a little bit of, in IBM what I could do. Continuous. So people usually have this view of a dashboard. How many service line, industry education, reskilling. Okay, what was your investment? How many people certified? Agile, Scrum, graduate hires. One is an IBM Way Education, just a snapshot of my work when I did. So we used to have a matrix like this. So metric, location, detail. So there used to be a little comments. So maybe this is one industry capability. So there are certain notes very specific to a company, but I thought that your company or you'll have something of this on talent metrics, on learning. New course, location, okay, scorecard, format, source. LNK is learning and knowledge. So industry capability, I think it came from a vendor. Okay, what are the things that need? So when you give a feedback, usually the feedback is on curriculum, on ambience. If it's a physical program, content, applicability, trainer, and logistics. So you give a feedback mostly on this, and there'll be a free text. Rationale, whether the time was worth spent, whether the money spent was worth, whether to continue. So these are reasons. If a question comes that what is the reason to evaluate a program, for example, Japanese, as a culture, they don't believe in evaluation. Americans, as a culture, they will be like Donald Trump. Everything will be evaluated. So, in my 20 years in IBM, measurement is, they're maniacal about measurement. Whether to continue or to discontinue, what improvements are continuously, there'll be a evaluation going on. Okay, I'm not getting into this plan, cost effective and necessary. This we did, one of the teams did. This I don't think one team did, but we got 2 teams. So I think this was one on that article, which I do not know. It was on 30th March, the last day. And today's was supplying analytics in HR. Okay. So that you did by, a volley of questions which I asked you in the beginning, that on compensation, on training. Training we did in a detailed way in a class, but I did ask about hiring and compensation attrition. So we are done. I am just having a quiz. Okay. So we'll now get into a poll and that will be it. Just give me a moment to put up the poll. So here's a MCQ for you. See how do you fare. There's no marking. It's about just checking your knowledge because we are now, we are 4 or 5 classes old. So Okay, let me go into more. Polls and quizzes. Okay. Let me go to back. Sorry. And very back. Okay, can you see the question 1?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No,
Okay.
sir.
Can't see. Let me launch. Why is the launch button not coming? Just one minute. Polls and quizzes. Polls. Okay. Modified all types. Question 6. Why cannot launch this? Just one sec. I cannot. Any poll results is being shared. Okay. Let me go to more. Breakouts we don't want. We want polls. Polls are Govinder has loaded this, but these are search all. Start. Okay. Polls. 20 questions. Okay. How will I launch this? Just a minute. Polls, quizzes. Display question. Now show one question at a time. You can't see the screen, huh?
No, sir.
Okay. Let me do it another way. I'll have to do a quick cleanup. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, here we are. Let me open it up for you. I couldn't do the poll. Okay. Tell me 1 and 2. You can see the polls. You can see the questions.
Yes, sir.
What will be the answer of 1? You can put it on chat or say. Okay, try 2. Seems that you got dumbfounded. Okay, I'm going on to question 3. I have found one answer. Just a minute. Let me chat. Minimize the chat. Message. Sir, could you show? Prince says B. This is which question, Prince? B is for which question? For 1 or for 2? 2B. 2B, no, it's 2C. Okay. So let me go a little ahead. Answer 3 and 4. . So operational data do not include call record. Okay, I'm getting two chats. Jivan Jyoti says 1C. Yes, 1C is correct, Jivan. Bhakti says 3 is 3. 3 is C. 3 is C. Let me see. No. Sales by region is the correct answer. All these are operational data. Call record, account balance, production record. Sales by region is strategic data. So here the difference is what is operational, what is strategic. Okay, good. Number 4, tell me. Which is not a challenge of big data harvesting. Okay, I'll wait for your answer. Let me go over to the next. Answer 5. Okay, I got 4 and 5. Just 5 is easy. 4B. Let me see, Prince, if 4 is B. No, 4 is data gets appended frequently. That is not a challenge. Okay. Data will get appended frequently in big data harvesting, which is this one, 4B. 4B. Yeah, 4C. 4C is the correct. Tell me 5. This is easy. We did the balance scorecard. 5D. Bhakti is very good. Client value is not inputted. Thank you. Parul also. For Parul, it's 5D. Learning and growth, financial and operations, we do. I'll send you that paper. Maybe a little unfair. I just mentioned, but I didn't send that paper on the balance scorecard. Okay. Client value is not included in balance scorecard. Come. This, I think, will be very easy for you. Number 6 and 7. Wait, again, I look at the chat. Message. Jivan Jyoti says A. Yes, very good. Even you have answered on behalf of the class. Come to 7. This also is an easy question. 7 is call record data. What do you say? Pharma. Sorry. 7 bits. Should be telecom. Let's do it. Yeah, B. Great. B, great. Thank you so much, Jugal Kishore, for that right answer. Now let's come to 8 and 9. Again, a lot of words. Be just a little careful while answering 9. Okay, let me see your answers. 8 is C, Bhakti says 8 is C. BI is operational, BA is strategic. Okay. And yeah, BI is operational. That is not a difference between the both. That is right. And 9. 9 is simple. 8 was the difficult one. Prescriptive and predictive. Remember that Gartner model. I got one answer. Jivan Jyoti says C. Yes, predictive, correct answer. Very good, Jivan. So 9C is the correct answer. Look, you have to be okay. One more answer coming in. Jivan also says 9. Okay, Ramesh also says 9. Thank you, Ramesh, for getting in this, getting your hand dirty. 10. Okay, this is a silly question, so never mind. If attrition causes financial impact, who should be bothered more? This was not a great question. Okay. But you can answer. Any quick answer? This sort of silly question. Then C. Yeah, both ideally, but it is on HR. Okay. I mean, at the end, HRH. Go. She has given the answer B. Yeah, it's both finance and HR, but HR will have to take the hit. Why are people leaving? Okay. That was not a great question, but come to 11 and 12. This we did how many cigarette butts snuffed out? You know how, which is data gathering? Is it the step 2 of 8 steps, that Cotter model? Step 3, step 5, or step 6? Remember we did the data gathering? So which is that step? It is the third step. Okay, step 3. So 11 would be B. Come to 12. 12 is simple. Here I see 2 new messages. D, inventory, correct. Inventory is supply chain logistics, but not HR. Okay. Come to 13 and 14. Prince, thank you. 12D. Bhakti, 12D. Okay. Now come to 13, which is not a common reason for measuring L&D and which is not quantitative data. These are also simple questions. I see one answer coming up. 13, 13B and 14C. Let me see. 13C, 13B. Workplace divine behavior is if people start pilfering or they put a noisy, earplug or they listen music loud. Sometimes you have a co-cubicle guy who's nuts. So that is not a factor and which is not a quantitative data. I think I saw a correct answer. We come to 13, 14B, Ramesh says. No, that is B is also correct. C is the right answer. Feedback on free text submitted. So that is not quantitative data. So they have said lunch was not good. Or they have said you should give, nimbu pani or whatever. We should have champagne and caviar. 14C. Good. Jewel has given the right answer. Let me quickly come down to 15 and 16. 15 is easy. How much have we covered? This should be a sitter. Okay. So we have covered. I don't see number 15. B. Okay. Actually, ideally 50%. Okay. Module 4, Sophie. Very good. Bhakti, Ramesh, they are all sincere, good people. So you get a wake-up call. Now come to, okay, this is it. There were more questions. Just one sec. There were 5 more questions. Just give me 1 sec. Let me, don't save, stop sharing. 5 more questions and we are done. Let me first open the question. Where did it go? Okay. Let me share. Do you have a class at 4 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then I think it's not a good idea to continue with the quiz, but there were 5 more questions. So, what is the message that you get? Why did I do the quiz?
We could introspect our, till now, whatever talent we have acquired.
That was one, Yogesh, right? And the other thing
And
is,
we
So
could
to
revise
engage, to
also, like,
evaluate.
yeah,
sorry, evaluate. I didn't get both of you, Yogesh
Engage,
and
sir. To engage all of us and to evaluate.
yeah, and also the lesson is now is the time to study a little bit of this subject. Okay, arresting audience attention. Okay. No,
So it was learn by
that was
fun.
one engaging, but mostly so that you now get into the act of becoming a little, uh, get into the game. Yogesh, you're saying something.
Sir,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was
I was saying, sir, you have chosen the, all the even chapters. So it was like, engaging all the chapters also. It is not like, you have taken just only one chapter. So that is what I could observe.
Yes. So I'll send in 20 questions. Okay, because you have a class, I'm not giving you the 5.
Yeah.
And maybe next day you will do much better in the quiz. You will call me out.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it was good, sir. It was, like, it has activated our gray cells actually.
It has activated our grace.
sir, it was learn by
Yeah.
fun.
Learn by
Yeah.
fun. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Bhakti. Thank you, Prince, Jugal, Jyoti, Parul, Karishma, and Ramesh. So bye for now, and we'll
Thank you,
meet
sir.
next
Bye-bye.
Sunday.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
sir.
much, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you, sir. Take care. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.